All right, Jason here from Septic Tank TV. All right, so today we're looking at frozen septic tanks. Now you may think that's a pretty strange topic to talk about, but it's a very common problem. Now, if you live in the UK, whether it's summertime or whenever, you know we get some strange weather over here. It can rain, it can be windy, it can be very cold in months it shouldn't be, but especially in wintertime, right? People who own septic tanks have to deal with problems when it freezes over. So I thought I'd just deal with some of the most common problems and how to fix them. All right, so when it freezes, right, we're probably talking about it getting 0 or below, right? Now the first thing to freeze on a septic tank, well, in fact this video I suppose can apply to anyone wherever you live in the world, but anyway, look, especially if you live in the Arctic, right? But first thing that normally freezes over on a septic tank is the lid. And so most lids, whether they're concrete, you know, inserted into a concrete kind of ceiling there, whether they're made of metal, they freeze over. And unless you've got an ice pick, you just can't get into the things. But a really simple tip, right, is to go and boil a kettle of hot water, right? Boil a kettle and then pour the hot water onto the lid there, and you'll find literally within 30 seconds, a minute, all the ice will melt and you can get your hands in there and just lift the lid up. Or, you know, you can use a jimmy bar or some kind of, you know, screwdriver, something like that, and the lid will just pop straight out. So that's tip number one, okay? But that's the first thing to kind of get frozen over is the manhole cover. Now, in most septic tanks, they're well insulated, believe it or not. Why? Well, you see this line here, this is called a crust. Right, so if I just put crust there, look, there you go. And this crust basically is poo, bits of poo. You know, like, have you ever been in the field and you've seen a cow pat and you walk in the field, and you put your foot in the cow pat? Well, your foot first of all goes through the crust, like on a crust of bread, right? And so most septic tanks have got a crust. And this is debris that's basically hasn't sunk to the bottom, and it's just floated to the top of the tank. Now this crust acts as insulation. So that's right. So let's say it's minus, I don't know, for a minute, -3 out here. And let's say it's slightly a bit warmer, it's -2 in here. The actual crust, as I said, acts like a thermal blanket or covering. So while it's still cold in here, this is where all the water is in here, right? Because number one, it's poo, it has a higher tolerance, or it has a higher rate or value or whatever. Water normally freezes at a particular temperature where it takes with sewage waste, sewage effluent. Sewage, if I put sewage effluent there, it has to be a lot colder for that sewage effluent to kind of freeze over, because it's got lots of suspended solids in, right? And then on top of that, when you've got the crust on there, it actually stops and protects the sewage effluent from freezing over. So it would have to get to like -10, -15 for the actual sewage effluent to kind of freeze over. And if it did freeze over, what that means is any water coming into the tank from your property into here, it just wouldn't be able to go anywhere. So the tank would fill up and then it would overflow through the manhole cover. But if it was that cold, it would probably freeze before it got it got onto the crust. So what can you do if your sewage effluent or your crust freezes over? Now I have experienced this problem a couple of times. So what you have to do, you have to get the manhole cover off, and you have to get like a big stake or fence pole, something like that. And then basically what you do is you smash and you crush it down like that, so it breaks up that crust which is frozen over. It then breaks into the sewage effluent, because normally if it does freeze over, it's normally only the top section, like a pond, right? You know, like a pond gets like a lid of ice on top of it, and the water. That's how nature does it. That's how it works in classic physics, isn't it? You get you get a covering of ice, like an ice cap, and then underneath is water, and it's the same as a sewage effluent. The crust may freeze over. You'll get a certain section below that may freeze over, so you can smash that down with the stake, with the pole. It will then, you can then stir it up a little bit, which causes the current in the tank to kind of swirl around, and then it gets it all loose and it gets it all working again. If you've got a hose pipe, you could put your hose pipe to the hot tap and just, turn it on and, spray some warm water in there. But the point being is, if you do that every day, right, and stir it around and keep that crust broken, if it's particularly cold, then that will allow that will break it up. I suppose it becomes like a slush puppy. Remember those? You could drink them. But the point is, you'll have movement in the water, so your water will be able to come in, your water will be able to come out. Now, this is probably, for most septic tank owners in the UK, this probably won't be a problem until winter time. All right, but for other places around the world that are in minus, it's winter, I don't know, most of the year, then you'll find that's a very good tip to help keep your septic tank running and functioning, if you live in those kind of temperatures. So listen, strange video today, I know, but hopefully these tips have helped you out. So listen, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you'd like to see more free tips, more free videos to do with septic tanks and septic tank solutions, and just type in Septic Tank TV. Type it into Google, go on YouTube, there's my channel. All right, so listen, once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. You take care, and I'll speak to you soon.